Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. In keeping with accuracy and telling the truth, Mr. Young, you said we would not characterize these expenditures as expansion of government. What do you tell to the single mom, the families, and the small businesses that have cut back, are cutting back now, and yet they're going to be asked to spend more in taxes and give back to the government so the government can expand?
That's a political question.
No, that's an accuracy question.
Well, let's be accurate. It's political.
Can I get an answer, Governor?
Yeah, you can get an answer.
And the answer is?
And the answer is we're restoring government to that which is expected of people when they pay their taxes. They pay their taxes in a free society where men and women are gathered together collectively to govern themselves in a manner that respects both the capacity to raise the young and to have a dignified existence for the elderly. And those of us who have that obligation and responsibility respond accordingly. That's what this plan does. That's what this budget does.
Governor, you also mentioned that look at what's happening across the country. We don't need that in Hawaii. What's happening across the country is states are going broke because they've spent too much and they've gone into debt. This budget plan doesn't do anything to alleviate the spending. It increases it. Doesn't do anything to reduce the debt. It increases it. So how are we going to change our plan? How are we going to change the status quo from this budget?
Because we're going to restructure what we do. The reason that we're having expenditures the way they are is that health care, for example, has exploded in cost. What we need to do is revise how we deliver health care. Part of the other reason is that we are having people living longer than ever before. We have more people living longer. Just take the question of those over 65. The census will show that between 17 and 20% of the increase in population in the state is 65 plus. That's because we live in paradise. That means more people are entering that cohort of 65 plus, and those people are living longer. Inevitably then, there are going to be expenditures associated with that which are not static. They're going to grow. The question for us as responsible adults, and especially responsible public officials, is to find a fair and equitable way to meet the requirements of that expansion of expenditures just to meet basic needs.
Finally, Governor, on your troika of things that you were going to accomplish with the budget, the third was acceleration of jobs. We heard about new jobs in government. We heard about new positions, but I didn't hear anything about stimulating the private economy and creating a better economic and business climate to have more private jobs.
Well, I suggest then that you take a look at the projects that we have underway. They all have a more than ample degree of social utility to create exactly that. Small business will prosper. We're going to build housing. We're going to expand businesses here in the state of Hawaii. Agriculture, energy, sustainable environment, educational excellence, all of which will have a positive effect not only on the business climate of the state, but on seeing to it that our people prosper. Right now, as we look across the nation and across the world, we see a revolution, we see governmental chaos, we see the price of oil rising steadily once again. We either observe that passively here in Hawaii, or we move to invest in ourselves. We're going to improve education in order to harvest our intellectual capital here in this state. We're going to move towards energy independence because that's the way we survive against global forces of carbon-based energy that are out there right now victimizing us. We're going to expand our agricultural capacity to have food security here so that we're growing our own food for the schools. We're growing our own food for our hospitals. We're growing our own food for our prison system. And our prison system is going to see to it that we have less people in it because we're going to have more people working with a positive future not only in mind, but in hand. So I think that if we follow through on this New Day plan, Senator, not only will business expand, but the prosperity for the entire state is before us.
Thank you, Governor. We all wish you well in Washington on COFA, since the congressional delegation has done nothing to alleviate that problem since it was enacted. Thank you, Mr. Chair.